on, bro.
Oh,
Fran Strine. Am I saying your last name right?
Strine, yes, sir.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Man, you have so many stories, man. Like it's
I
great.
do. It's crazy, yeah. And thank you for having me on, man. I've been a big fan of your show, and a lot of my friends have been on here, so it's really cool to be on.
Oh, and man, I thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah,
I
for
was
sure.
just watching your interview with Frank when he had you on his podcast.
Oh God.
Yeah, Frank Fonserrare.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've always messing up his last name, but yeah, that was a great interview too, man.
great. I hope he's still doing his artwork, man. He's got some really cool pieces.
He hooked me up with a piece of artwork when he was
Yeah.
here. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I started collecting art, man. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that. I got some cool pieces from some pretty talented people.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, do you hang it up on the wall? I mean, how's the art?
yeah, almost. I got one piece being shipped here. I worked with Jason Newsted from Metallica for a few years.
Whoa.
Yeah, when he quit Metallica, he went into painting, like
Mhm.
fine art stuff, and he's got gallery showings all over the world. And I had moved to San Rafael in Northern California, not long after we started working together. And I took a video of my walls. And I sent him a text. I was like, my walls need your art. He's like, well, fuck, come over on Saturday, man. Come take a look at the stuff. And my son and I went over and went through all his stuff, and we picked out about 4 or 5 pieces, and he puts them on an easel. Now my son had done his homework. He's like, his stuff starts at like $25,000, $30,000 starting. I'm like, well, let's have a great lunch with Jason today and hang out. He's a fun guy and really cool. And he sits down with us after he puts everything on the easel. He had a little goatee at the time. He's sitting there twisting it, just thinking about it. He goes, man, you've done so much work for me at a fair price and everything else. Just give me $5,000 for all 5 pieces. I'm like, dude, I can give you more than that. I mean, that's ridiculous. He's like, nope, you'll owe me a favor one day later on down the road. I'm like, oh, okay, if that's what you want to do. I've got 5 pieces. I just got one framed the other day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I got some stuff coming that I had to get out of storage.
So you got 5 of them though. You have 5 total.
Oh yeah. Oh,
and
man.
one framed. That's amazing.
Well, no, a couple of them a couple are just pieces that are stretched frame. You know what I mean? They're just on canvas that don't need to be framed. And then my next door neighbor in Santa Monica, Gregory Melfris. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. But I'm a huge Judas Priest fan. And
okay.
He's another. I mean, his artwork is phenomenal. So I commissioned a piece from him of Rob Halford. And he goes, well, what do you want me to do? And I kind of showed him a picture, man. And he, 3 weeks later, gave me this beautiful piece of art.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Then he did one of Alice Cooper. And then I commissioned another piece that's 6 feet by 3 feet. That's going to go on this giant wall behind me because it's just empty. Dude. And it's on my heroes, right? They give me inspiration to do what I do. And it starts with Evel Knievel, Alice Cooper, Rod Woodson, Tom Cruise. Who else? I think that's it. Yeah. So those guys really, Tom Cruise in the film world to me is he's the last movie star,
Oh, yeah.
And I just love his body of work, than everybody else. Evel Knievel when I was a kid. Rod Woodson was my favorite Pittsburgh Steeler. Alice Cooper was what got me into music. If it wasn't for Alice, there would be none of this,
Dude, I think I know your secret. You just leave all your walls empty and you're like, hey, famous dude, if you just want to hook me up, I have no room.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm just, dude, I'm so fortunate. I don't take any of this for granted. And I'm just fortunate and lucky, to have landed in the spot.
Where were you born? I mean, did I miss that? Were you born in Georgia?
No, I was born in Spain.
Spain. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I lived there for 5 years. My father was in the military. My mother was a native there. And he got a job at Lockheed Martin.
Oh, yeah, Lockheed. Yeah.
So we moved to Georgia, and that's where I kind of grew up, dropped the Spanish accent, picked up the Southern one. And yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I have a family business where we sell computers to Lockheed Martin. So that's one of our customers. That's really cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm
So
surprised we haven't met all these years, and we
I
know some of
know.
the same people.
Yeah, no, for the longest time, I thought we were like you lived in near me or something, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's so your dad your dad worked at Lockheed Martin.
Mhm.
Was he into music or like was your mom like how did you
My
how'd you
mother was,
find this? Yeah.
yeah. So my mother was a musical person, right? She, I don't know if you know who Paco Lucia is. He's a famous flamenco guitarist, and she
Yeah.
played castanets with him and did the flamenco dancing and everything. And she turned me on to music at a really, really early age. And she was very liberal with me because I would come home, man. I went to a Christian private school. And when I saw Alice Cooper and I heard the song 18, and then went off the
Yeah.
record and I just stared at it. Then I moved over into KISS, and then I got KISS Alive. And I would just stare at that album for hours. Just, what is this? Why is this moving me? And then Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East, and hearing Rob Halford's soaring voice and, the twin guitar of KK Downing and Glenn Tipton, I was hooked. And then I started playing guitar. I'm a failed musician. And I'm like, well, I got to get my way into music somehow because I just love it so much. And that's how all this started, just pure luck. I was just taking my camera into concerts just to take pictures for memories. And then after a while, people were just like, dude, you got a great eye, and this was before I could even get a photo pass. I was just like disassembling my zoom lens.
Yeah.
Because back then you weren't allowed to bring cameras into concerts, in the late 80s. And
So how'd you sneak it in? You said you disassembled it? Like
oh yeah, the lenses and everything. Back then it was like a film camera. I had a Nikon F4, and I would just
wow,
stick the lens into my leather jacket pockets and
that's
pants.
crazy.
Oh, it
Yeah.
is. It's totally nuts, man. And coincidentally, one of the photos of Alice Cooper I took ended up on the cover of my first picture ever was on the cover of Metal Edge magazine.
No way.
Yeah, and the benefit of me living in Georgia was I wasn't in LA or New York where the market is so saturated, you're never going to be able to do a photo shoot. Live stuff, yeah, but to get the band together in a room to do a proper photo shoot was not going to happen because there's too many people jockeying for that position. So being in Atlanta, I think one of my first sessions was with Jackal when they opened up for ZZ Top of the old Omni. And that's what really
I
got
remember
me
the
going.
Omni. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the rest is kind of history, man.
Did
And
you have somebody you looked up to, like, when you're doing these photos, do you have a photographer? Like, do you have any buddies that did this? Like, do you have a,
I didn't have any
crew?
buddies. No, I didn't. But, I was making okay money, but you don't really make a ton of money just doing live stuff or even some of the stuff, like Rolling Stone, here's $600, but they publish once a month, right?
Mm.
Same thing with Metal Edge. Like, here's $500 for this group of photos. That's it. And that's for a month because they only publish once a month. And I wound up going to the NAMM show one year. And if people don't know what the NAMM show
Oh,
is,
yeah.
it's kind of like a car show for music instruments, right? They display all the new stuff. And there's where I met Neil Zlozauer, who I worshiped. And he's the guy that did all the Van Halen album covers and, Judas Priest Live. And I mean, he's done it all. And we struck up a conversation. He was super cool. He's a crusty, kind of angry old man, unless you really know him. We hit it off, right? And I was like, man, how do you survive? Here you are, you're like the elder of me. He's like, advertising. You need to get in with Gibson or Ibanez or Marshall or Peavey or somebody like that. And I was really good friends with David Ellefson from Megadeth, who's the original bass player, founding member. And when Megadeth went on hiatus, he started working for Peavey as their A&R guy, trying to get artists into their corral. And he just called me up one day. He's like, hey, man, we're looking for a videographer and photo guy. Would you be interested in being our dude? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's where that happened. That's when the money starts pouring in, because there was a lot of money back then, before the crash. And, I thank him a lot for all his stuff.
Yeah, you're networking so well back then. This is before cell phones. This is,
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just saw a picture of Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, and I flipped it over, and he had given me his email address, and it was at AOL. That's how long ago it was, and that's how we would keep in touch. Because you're right, there were no cell. I had a beeper. It and that's how I would get in touch with Corey and Clint and Troy McClawhorn, all those guys, you know.
You
It
just
was,
meet them at shows and stuff and just try to,
you know, it was funny, man. When I lived in Marietta, the band was kind of stationed there, right? They stayed at like a Red Roof Inn off Windy Hill Road, if you know where that is.
Yeah.
And my ex-wife used to go watch them at this place called the Outer Edge in Magruder's, and they had the draw. I mean, everybody loved Still Rain. I'd never heard of them. And then when I went to go see them, she had given me Corey's home phone number. So I called him up. I'm like, hey, man, I'd love to do a photo shoot with you guys. Da, 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 da. And he's like, come check us out. You know, I don't know what these guys look like. And they had a kabuki drop in a club. The kabuki drop falls to the ground. There's like turkey frying pans or whatever with lighter fluid on fire on the ground.
That's so
like, dangerous. What am I seeing here? And as soon as that, none of them had a shirt on. They're all ripped like Zeus. And I'm like, my wife is having sex with every one of these guys. That's my first thought. I was like, Jesus Christ. So anyway, we hit it off immediately with those guys. And, you know, there's a photo floating around I posted that I took of them. And Clint and I were just texting the other day. He goes, man, this is full circle, you know.
But, yeah, you have so many great photos. When you bought your camera, how did your parents get you a camera? How did you get the first camera you owned? Like, how
my first camera was a Minolta X700 that my father-in-law had gifted. Just here, man, you want this camera? You know, I was like, yeah, man. You know, and that's what I would sneak into some of the concerts before I got the Nikon. You know, and I went, you know, step above and bought that one. Yeah, so that's how that happened.
I love that.
Yeah, and then you know, I want to do my first tour after doing all these magazine shoots. I'm like, now I want to do a tour. You know, I want to go on the road. And Sevendust was going to be on this tour. This was in the summer of 2000, called Tattoo the Earth, where they merged tattoo artists and music. And on that tour was Slayer, Slipknot, who I'd already had a relationship with, Sevendust, Sepultura, Amen, Mudvayne, just tons of bands. And I hit up, I think it was Clint, and I'm like, how do I get on this tour, man? He goes, let me ask our manager who the owner of the tour is. And it was a guy named Scott Alderman. So I emailed Scott. That's all I had was an email address. I'm like, my name is Fran Strine. I'll do your tour for free. Just give me a bunk on a bus. You don't have to pay me a dime, and I'll get myself out there. And he goes, you got a portfolio? I'm like, yes, I do. So I sent him my portfolio, and then he emailed me back with his phone number. We had a phone call. He goes, if you can get yourself to Portland, Oregon on this date where the tour starts, you've got the job, but I'm not going to pay you anything. And I want to own some of the photos. I'm like, done deal. I just want to get my foot in that door. And I took a Greyhound bus because I had no money. From Atlanta to Portland, it took 4 days. My feet looked like eggplants. There's just, you know, I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. Yeah. And I get there the day of the show that morning, you know, met everybody, got my laminate and tour book and all this stuff. Shot the show, you know, Slipknot guys saw they were there and they were happy, you know, because I'd done a lot of work with those guys. And this was like right when they started.
Okay.
And, you know, they welcomed me. If you come on stage, shoot whatever you want.
This is about 1999-ish, around there, 98,
like
99.
Early 2000. Yeah, it was
2000. Yeah,
summer 2000. Yeah, 99 is when I first started shooting those guys. And they were at the Masquerade. If you can believe Slipknot at the Masquerade.
That's cool.
And they had a trough for a photo pit. Like you're ducking in a photo pit and the band is right here. And Mick Thompson, the guitar player, was like, fuck it, man, just jump up on stage. We don't care. Just don't get hurt. Okay. You know, so they started playing, man. I literally just stood up in the trough and was like jumping around, shooting. I had to go behind Joey's drum kit and shoot him. And then there's Clown. He had a big aluminum baseball bat that he would just crush those kegs with, but he's not looking at what he's doing, man. So I'm ducking these bats and everything else. And we did a photo shoot earlier that day that ended up in Metal Hammer magazine, Hit Parader, and Guitar World, you know? So that was a good day for me.
Do you have copies of all these album, like when they're on album magazine covers? Do you keep copies of everything?
Man, I had everything in the store. I was just like, man, I hope I kept everything. And I've been going through stuff all month and just, just tons of stuff that I even forgot about,
Going back to Sevendust, so they invited Tattoo the Earth. So you have a bunk. You're going to be with the band on their bus. Is that what you're saying?
I was on the production bus. So Scott,
Production bus. Okay, yeah.
yeah. And then we played Red Rocks in Denver. I'll never forget this. And I was on the production bus. We're getting ready to go to Salt Lake City. And somebody's like, hey, can you go get some pizzas out of the, catering? I'm like, sure. What'd you go get them? Came back. The bus is gone. They left without me. They were so high because everybody's smoking weed and stuff and drunk.
Yeah.
They forgot I wasn't on the bus. So they're gone. And Slayer's bus is there, the band bus. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
I know, man. And I was terrified of Kerry King and all. You had the big, I didn't really know them that well, but I knocked on their door and one of the guys came out. I'm like, man, I just got oil spotted here. He goes, oh, just jump on our bus, man. You can sleep in the back lounge. We got you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So they didn't know I got left the other bus until they, landed in Salt Lake. Like, where's Fran? We're 2 hours behind. It was nuts.
Yeah.
The genesis of my career touring wise. And they just kind of, Slipknot, they did the Duality album and I went out for, I think 2 tour cycles on that. And Slayer brought me out a couple of times.
Yeah, that's incredible. My question is, how did you get your foot in the door with all these humongous people, like bands,
Oh, dude, number 1 is word of mouth. Number 2 is the coolness. Can you hang with these guys and not be a nuisance and cause any problems? And the biggest one is trust. You got to build tremendous trust, to let these guys in.
Yeah. And
I just did, man. I was cool. I wasn't a drug addict. I didn't do any kind of drugs or anything. And they just built a trust. So, I'd go out with, like the Seether guys. They opened up for Stained, So I toured with Stained. I also was in a recording studio from start to finish. And the way Stained worked, they would write and record in the studio. So Mike Mushaw would bring a guitar riff in. Aaron Lewis would come in with some vocal ideas, and the drummer would sit back there.
Rest in peace, right? The drummer.
Yeah, Kawasaki, terrible, man. He was a sweetheart. And I worked with Stain for 7 or 8 years. But
and you did the DVD too as well, right?
Yeah, with Go. You know Gogi?
Yeah, I know Gogi. Yeah. I'm friends with him. Yeah, he's been on the show.
Yeah, Gogi edited that with me.
Oh, no way. That's cool.
Dude, Gogi's so talented outside of music, even, man, like web design, editing, anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So how did I meet Stained? So I think somebody recommended me for Stained, and I got a call from Mike Mushaw, the guitar player, kind of runs all the business stuff. So I went out on tour with them and Nickelback. And that's how I got on tour with Nickelback. They saw me hanging around, and
they're huge, right? Right when you were interviewing, when you were with them.
Yeah, they were at the pinnacle. And the same thing. Then they brought out it was Stained and 3 Doors Down, and that's how I got it. Actually, you know what? I worked with 3 Doors Down before that. So many, man. It's just hard to keep track. But Seether specifically was with opening for Stained in Europe. And we just got along great, man. And Sean Morgan was like, you want to come out with us? As soon as this tour's over, we're doing a U.S. tour. I don't think we even had any days off. I think we landed in New York and started. And I did one of their bonus DVDs too in Nashville, I believe. And love those guys. Love them. And John Humphreys, I consider.
I love that dude.
I'm going to go see him Saturday. He plays with a band called the Nixons. That was
the Nixons. Yeah, that's before Seether. He's in there. Hey, it's cool that you're doing these DVDs because this is before YouTube and everything. And one of my favorite Sevendust albums is Seasons, and I love that DVD. And you were part of that. That's so amazing.
Very first one. If you want to know the story, I'll tell you.
Yes, please. I love that.
Butch Walker, of course, produced it in Atlanta, and I've known Butch since we were underage going to clubs called Danny's Rock and Roll Bar on Highway 41.
That's with his first band. What were they called? South Gang.
I think this was before South Gang even.
Wow.
Oh,
that makes you old. I'm just playing.
No, I've been around.
I'm just playing.
Yeah. But anyway, Sevendust is going to the studio. I went to the studio for their very first album. My son must have been 4 or 5 years old. And this is the one that God, JJ French produced from Twisted Sister.
Twisted Sister, yeah.
Yeah. So we went in for some of that stuff. And I remember Clint writing that intro for Black in an apartment, just watching him do that. I was like, that's cool, man. What is that pedal? But we go in to do what they're going in to do Seasons. I had nothing to do with it at that point, but I had my video camera with me. And it was literally like a Canon handheld prosumer video camera that I brought on tour on the Tattoo the Earth tour with me. I was just filming stuff for myself, and their A&R guy was there. And he goes, you do video production? And immediately, you fake it till you make it. Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. Can you put a budget together to a 25-minute bonus content DVD? Yes, I can. No clue. I didn't even own a laptop at that time, right? So I didn't edit. I never had a video, like a professional video camera. And my a friend of mine that was a producer that worked with Stereo Mud, Jen Rothland, I hit her up. I'm like, I need to write a budget for this thing. She came back. It was like $90,000. I'm like, and back then in 2002 or 2001 when they were recording it, that's a lot of money.
Sounds like a lot now.
Yeah, I'm like, what? They're gonna laugh at me. No, trust me, this is what this shit costs. I work with this label all the time. So I presented it to the A&R guy, and I don't even think he read the line. I approved. Start shooting tomorrow. I'm like, holy shit. So I went to B&H Camera, that's on North Druid Hills. I don't know if it's still there or not, and bought a Sony PD 150, which was the highest end camera you could get, shot on mini DV tapes. Not even HD. This was before HD. And just started shooting the whole thing, man. And then we went on the road. They did a show like during the recording of the thing in Florida.
Yes, I remember this. Yeah. Take a pause on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that really kicked the door open for a lot of stuff because that was pretty successful.
Yeah. How much footage do you have? So much extra footage that wasn't released, with editing?
I've got thousands of hours.
God, I would love to see some of that. That's cool.
I'm probably gonna try to release some of it if I can. But yeah, I just saw the DV tapes in these boxes, and I've got 40 boxes, and it's just stacked.
What's it like just sitting there filming like the guys working, making this awesome, amazing Seasons album?
Dude,
you just gotta be quiet. You just.
I'm trying to be a fly on the wall because you don't want to get. But they invited me to just like, Morgan's like, dude, come on in. If you see some of those drum moves, man, I'm like in his face, but he loves the attention, man. And he was like one of the drummers back then. So I was going to take that opportunity and run with it. And
was Butch cool too to film? Like, was he cool?
He was so cool. Like, and here's what happened. So they finished that record and they're doing the acoustic tour. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, they came to Athens. Yeah.
I filmed that. I directed that.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. No way. The DVD and
the CD DVD pack was called
Oh my God. It came with cards. You did. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I directed. That was my first concert DVD. And it was a disaster. The production was fine, like the camera was working, but the lights that we rented.
Yes, they were super bright, weren't they?
Well, they were, but then they went out because the building can contain that kind of power.
Do you have? Okay, I'm sorry. I got to apologize. Do you have a crew that's helping you? I mean, this is not just you doing this, right?
We had a team. And I had about 8 or 9 camera guys there. And
did you bring this team together, or are they hiring different people?
No, I hired everybody. I produced the whole thing.
Wow, you see, that's huge, man.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. And then that led to Butch Walker calling me and being like, "Hey, man, I really like that thing. I'm doing a show at the Variety Playhouse. Will you do my concert?" So I brought the same people in, and who helped me with that? I think Donnie Hamby, the singer for Double Drive and Still Rain.
Oh, yeah.
He's a talented cat too, man. He was authoring these for me. We did the Edwin McCain live DVD down in Myrtle Beach. And
that's awesome.
Dude, he's the best. Like, so talented. I wish he would come out of the hiding and resurge because he's so talented. The fact that he's not out singing breaks my heart.
I follow Edwin McCain on Instagram now, and he has an awesome channel.
He's hysterical.
Yeah, he's so funny. Yeah, his daughter on there is so funny.
Yeah. He was so much fun to work with.
I bet.
Yeah.
And you got a crew though. I mean, that just blew my mind, like how much like you're doing something right. You're having all it's like you
Yeah,
have
well, dude,
the best crew, you have the best people watching you. Yeah.
yeah,
That,
well, I mean, look, man, it's either that or crash and burn, and bad news travels better than good news, right?
yeah, you must be a workaholic, man. That's awesome.
It's killing me right now because I'm doing film and television now mostly, and the industry shuts down at Thanksgiving and doesn't open again until mid-January. Everybody just
Mm.
goes dark, goes on vacation or whatever. So it's killing me. But now's a good opportunity for me to go through all this stuff.
So you got so many other bands too that you're working with.
Yeah.
Um I mean, I'm just Slipknot. I mean, you kept in touch with those guys as well?
Oh man, Mick Thompson, the guy who looks like the Undertaker, is a good friend. And during, a big football fan like I am, like you can see it on the background there.
Yeah.
But I had met a couple of NFL players while I was touring with Disturbed in Cleveland, some Cleveland, Ohio Cleveland Brown players, and a guy named Ryan Tucker, who we're still dear friends with. And he hits me up. He goes, "Hey man, you want to come to a game?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Where are you guys playing?" He goes, "Well, next weekend we're playing in Chicago at Soldier Field." I'm like, "I'm not going to pass that opportunity up."
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah, if you want to bring a friend or whatever." So I called up Mick. I'm like, "Dude, got field passes, everything for this Chicago, Bears game." He's like, "I'm fucking there, man." He lives in Iowa, which is only like a 4-hour drive to Chicago. So I flew up, we met up, got a hotel, went to the game the next day. We're on the field, man, on the 50-yard line with the coaches and all the players just watching this game. It was incredible. Yeah. But yeah,
That sounds crazy.
still keep in touch with him. Jim Root, the other guitarist, he recommended me for some stuff. He signed with back in the day with Orange Amps when he was in Stone Sour.
Mm-hmm.
Stone Sour's marketing team called me. It's like, "Hey, Jim recommended you to do this photo shoot for an ad campaign. Are you available to do it?" I'm like, "Sure." So we flew to Washington, D.C., where they had a show. And during the day, this is how it goes. Like the stuff that people don't see in the background. I had to bring my first camera assistant with me because we're doing a huge shoot. I had a location scout find a garage, So I've got all these people, makeup artists, wardrobe people, the whole deal. And it was a pretty decent budget, and did the shoot. And the next thing I know, man, it's on billboards at NAMM and Guitar World magazine, full page or whatever. It's just so cool to see all that work go down like that.
Yeah, are you that's phenomenal. And when you're dealing with that, you're obviously great at managing people, and you're probably obviously great at under stress, and
you
I
have to
mean
be.
that's
Yeah.
gotta be a lot of stress doing all that, being on the road, all the factors.
It was so much fun until the end when I was with Five Finger. Then it just kind of crushed my soul.
Why is that?
Because they were a nightmare to work with.
What year is this now? What year? 5 years? Because they're sober now, right?
Allegedly. No, just kidding. Yeah. So what broke the camel's back for me, this was 2015 or 16. We were in Australia. It was a world tour of 7 weeks around the world, starting in LA, going to Tokyo, New Zealand, to Australia for a couple of weeks, Singapore, then all of Europe for 5 other weeks. And the Australia dates are all fly dates, which means you do a show in Brisbane, wrap it up, get on an airplane, fly to Sydney, do a show, go to Adelaide. Got me?
Wow.
And yeah, the first flight, I even drank 2 bottles of wine and tried to get in first class. And the stewardess was like, "Sir, you don't have a ticket up here." And the next thing you know, he picks up the pager and is like, "This bitch won't let me into first class, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, oh my God.
Oh,
and that's
the very beginning.
Yeah, I'm turning 50 and I finally got a place I love to live in Northern California. And you can't have a relationship and tour because you're gone 9 to 10 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I got to find my escape. And I had just watched a movie called 20 Feet from Stardom, which is about the backup singers for the Rolling Stones and Bruce Springsteen and Bowie.
Oh,
and
nice.
So that really sparked the idea of Hired Gun, and we were flying from Singapore to Stockholm, Sweden.
Hired Gun, yeah, amazing documentary you're part of as well.
Yeah, thank you. That was a 17 and a half hour flight, so I had a lot of time to think. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I was just burnt out on touring. Touring Europe and Asia and Australia was cool because it's just different than here in the States.
Yeah.
If you've gone to Mobile, Alabama, or Enid, Oklahoma, there's nothing to do. You're just sitting all day waiting for that 90 minutes when you're working. But that's where Hired Gun sparked. As soon as I told the band when we were in Glasgow, Scotland, was the last day of the tour, I walked in and told the tour manager, I'm like, you got to find somebody else because I am out.
So what's the hardest thing to do overseas? I mean, what's the thing that burned you out the most?
Overseas wasn't bad. It was Five Finger Death Punch burned me out.
Burned me out. Okay, got you. Yes, I'm sorry.
They burned me. But I was also just tired. I'd been doing it for 20 some odd years.
Right. Yeah. See,
I wanted to have a home somewhere, a meaningful relationship that was going to go somewhere, and just not tour anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so you had the idea for a Hired Gun?
Yeah, I came up with it. I told Jason Hook about it. He goes, I want to be involved. At the time, I thought that was a good idea. So I'm like, cool, man, let's partner up and do it. So I landed in New York and then flew back to San Francisco, and immediately, maybe 2 days later, started making phone calls. And the first person I reached out to was Billy Joel's drummer, Liberty DeVito.
Oh yeah, dude. He makes that documentary. God, it's so good.
Yeah. And he didn't have a PR person or an agent. So I just found him on Facebook. I'm like, just told him the idea, and I'll never forget. I was at the bank and he calls me while I'm in line at the bank. Hey, this is Liberty. I'm like, can I call you back in 10 minutes? Please answer. So he answered, man. It was just so cool. His story is just so fascinating. We're still dear friends today.
No way.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to interview that dude so bad. That's amazing.
I can make a phone call.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
Awesome. And I'll never forget it, man. My son had moved to Brooklyn, New York, and I went to go visit him. And I checked in near the Brooklyn Bridge, and Phil X, who now plays in sends me a text. He goes, "Are you in New York?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. I'm having dinner with Liberty DeVito tonight." And he goes, "I'm here too." I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "We're at the Lincoln Center. Bon Jovi's getting ready to play for Bill Clinton's 70th birthday." What? Phil X's life, man. So anyway, we met up for dinner after he was done and just had a great time, man. And now Liberty DeVito played on Phil X's The Drill's album.
Okay.
He had all these guest drummers come on and play, and they're dear friends now. And I just text Liberty. I went to go visit my son in New York maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was cool. And full circle there too, man. Like, I became friends with Kerry King from Slayer and his wife Aisha.
Wow.
Yeah. So I text them. I'm like, "Hey, I'm in Brooklyn. You guys around?" They live in Brooklyn, or no, they live in Tribeca. "Yeah, you want to have dinner tonight?" I'm like, "Tonight? I just got here." I'm like, "Let me text Zach and see if he's my son, Zach." He's like, "Sure, I'll go." So we met up for dinner drinks that night and had a really good powwow. And Kerry King now has his own band. Just called
yeah.
Phil Demmel's in it.
Kyle Sanders lives right down the road from me. Yeah,
he's one of my boys too, man.
Yeah, man, that's cool. I love Kyle Sanders. He has the school, Let There Be Rock, and and he has the club too, Blackstrap. Yeah,
I haven't heard of it.
No. Oh, Blackstrap's amazing. It's in Gainesville. It has the whole club got all this memorabilia. It looks like my basement. Literally, like the same color. And then Kyle and his wife, they do such a great job, and they have all these bands play. It's very cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out, man. It's a very cool club.
Well, I come to Atlanta quite often, so.
Oh, you got to, man.
I'll hit them up.
Hey, what does your family think about what you do? And I mean,
so my dad passed away as Hired Gun was coming out, and he got to see it, and he was just so proud.
Oh yeah.
My mom doesn't get it. She's like, "What do you do?" I was like, "Well, I'm a photographer. Here's some of my pictures." She wasn't really impressed until she saw, the Dolly Parton stuff. And, now she's got slight dementia. So it's kind of like over her head, but she doesn't know what directing means. I'm like, here's my movie I made. "What do you mean you made a movie?" "Well, I directed this." What do you mean? Well, I sat down, interviewed everybody, came up with a concept and blah, blah, blah. But she's proud, but she doesn't get it. It's like, "Oh, how do you make money?" I'm like, "It ain't easy, but I make it, So, but she's definitely proud, but doesn't really understand the mechanics of it all.
Man, that's cool that you still keep in touch with him, and your dad got to see Hired Gun
Yeah.
Before he passed. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was tough.
I gotta say this: when Sevendust did their Cold Day Memory with Clint back in the band, and they had a DVD with that as well.
Yeah.
There's a one shot that cracks me up every time I watch it. It's when I think it's like Morgan Rose is sleeping, and he's just like waking up, and the camera's just right on him.
Oh yeah.
He's just like,
You know,
okay.
I didn't do that one. My friend Rafa
Yeah.
and Adam Cook's company did that. Those guys are great too.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I did the album.
You did Seasons too, right?
I did
I'm sorry.
Seasons.
I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No, I did Seasons. I did
And Next. Yeah.
Next, I did the album cover photography for and all their promo pictures.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I think Alpha has a DVD that I did in it.
Wow.
Those was Sonny Mayo.
Yeah, I love Sonny.
Yeah. Sonny lived in my house in Lilburn when they were recording that album.
Oh, because they did a Treehouse Studios or something like. Oh, Sonny lived with you? Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So did I don't know if you remember Stereo Mud.
Dude, Eric Rogers was the second interview I've ever done.
Really?
Yeah, Eric got me with Bones. He got me hooked me up with everybody. He does my therapy. That's his man now. Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
Joey Z and John Fataruso lived in my house for almost a year while they were recording.
Okay, yes. And yeah, oh my gosh, that's so good.
And then I went out to Los Angeles when they filmed, did the record with Don, what's his name? Baumgartner, the guy did Linkin Park's first record.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. Yeah, so I went out there and did a lot of photography for it, which I'll be posting. Yeah.
All right, I gotta ask you this. Matt Pinfield had his show at the time where he was doing a show where they would take snippets of their hometown and then they would play live.
Yeah.
And Stereo Mud's on there. I cannot think of the name of it, but Farmhouse. Yes. Yeah. And they showed clips of it like from their house in Georgia and then their house in New York with Joey Z or whatever. Were you a part of that? Or do you remember that when that happened?
I do remember, but I wasn't a part of that production. No, but I know Matt Pinfield. He was a moderator at South by Southwest when we did the world premiere of Hired Gun. So we had the whole cast and crew there, and he was interviewing all of us up on the stage or whatever. Then we did a film festival in San Francisco, and David Ellefson came out, and then Matt Pinfield came and moderated that too. He's a great guy, and I just recently saw him at a show with Mike Garson, who was David Bowie's piano man in Los Angeles. And Dave Grohl's daughter was the guest singer. And Dave Grohl was there too. And they did Heart Shaped Box together. It was.
Did you get to meet Dave Grohl?
Oh yeah. I've met him a couple times. Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's as chill and as cool as you'd ever think he would be.
Dude, you need to write a book so bad.
I'm in a bunch of books. I don't know if you see this bookshelf behind me behind the Christmas tree, but I've got so many books back there. Like I'm in Liberty DeVito's book, both of David Ellefson's book, both of Dolly Parton's book, the Tattoo of the Earth book. Like it's pretty cool when you go back and read this stuff and you're like, what?
Does your son think you're cool? Like, is he all like, is he sold?
Dude, my son was walking up and down on Dave Mustaine's lap at 3 months old. He's so past this. Like his first concert was Korn. You know, it was my weekend to have him, and I have to work. You know, I got to pay college support and bills and rent. So I'm like, you want to go to a concert in Athens with me? I think it might have been the very first Family Value store. It was Korn, Limp Bizkit, and Helmet.
Oh God, that sounds so cool.
Yeah,
I love Helmet.
Yeah, and Fred Durst came up and gave Zach a 3-song demo that they were handing out to the crowd that night.
Oh, yeah.
And then we go backstage, and I'm doing a photo shoot with Korn, and you know, I was like, "Can Zach get up there and get a picture with you guys? Bring him up, man." Yes, you know. So Zach's got his picture with all the guys in Korn.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they had one of the early PlayStations or whatever, like in a road case, so they were playing Madden with them or whatever. Yeah, super cool guys.
Is your son still into like heavy music and stuff, or is he still into?
Oh yeah, dude. So Megadeth played at this little teeny place that holds like 160 people in New York for a warm-up show. I think they had played the Jimmy Fallon show that day, and then and they taped those shows during the day, those talk shows. In the evening, they played this place, 160 people. Ellefson gives me a call. He goes, "You wouldn't happen to be in New York here with Zach, would you?" I'm like, "No." shit, do you think Zach would want to come to this secret show we're doing? I'm like, of course he would. So he gave Zach a couple of tickets. Zach walks and they open up with Wake Up Dead, this
Yes.
place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they only did about 10 songs, but Zach was like, that was one of the coolest things. But yeah, my son likes really like sludgy metal, like Boris and the weird Lord Slough-Feg, I think is the name of them.
All right.
They're from San Francisco, so when we live in the Bay Area, we go see them all the time. And then Boris we saw in San Francisco, and then they played in New York a couple of weeks ago when I was there, and so we went to that show and just had a blast. But yeah, he loves hard rock. I think one of his favorite bands is Megadeth too.
Okay, so can you talk about Stuck Mojo? How did you discover Stuck Mojo?
Corey, no, I shot them before Corey. Mark Willis.
Yeah, the manager. Yeah.
Their manager I knew from just all kinds. There used to be this concert series at the Olympic Park called On the Bricks.
Yeah.
And I would go shoot that all the time. Marcy Allen was the creator of that concert event. And this was when I had no money, man. I was like broke. And she would let me come over and like paint her house and like mow her yard. And she's like, well, if you want to go shoot some photos, you can sell them to whoever. I'm like, okay. And then she invited me to Voodoo Fest in New Orleans when I think it was Tool, Marilyn Manson, the Black Crow, just all these artists, man. Iggy Pop. And it was like, I'm shooting all this. I'm like, this is so cool, man. I got really cool friends that are watching my back to let me do this stuff. And through Mark Willis, I was like, hey, man, would you let me shoot Stuck Mojo? Absolutely. Whenever you want, and then Corey joins the band. And then that's how that happened. And then, Rich Ward is so cool. Bones is a big Steeler fan like me. So
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. He's cool as shit, Bud,
Oh, yeah.
Awesome drummer. Awesome
Bud,
drummer.
Frank, Bud.
Yeah,
Frank, we call you Bud or we call you Frank?
I know, right? I call him Bud, but yeah, Frank. But man, what a force to reckon with that band. I think them and Sevendust and probably Slipknot, you don't want to go after. Period.
Oh yeah, throw in Snot too. They'll be like the big four.
Yeah. Most of Snot wind up to be an Amen as well. Sonny, Shannon Larkin, Toomer, John
Toomer,
yeah.
John Painstock, yep.
Yeah, they were. I got a funny story about that tour. When we were in El Paso, Texas, it's probably 100 degrees outside. Amen comes out. They're unconscious when they're playing. They're not looking at anything or paying attention. And John comes out first song, kicks his mic stand. And the bell of a mic stand is just pure steel. It twirls in the air, pops me in the temple. Next thing I know, I'm waking up in an ambulance in a freaking concussion protocol.
Oh, God.
What I didn't even know what happened. They had to tell me. They're like, dude, you just got knocked out cold by that dude's, mic stand. I still give him shit to this day. Yeah. But super cool guys, man. I have so many fond memories of that.
Yeah, I love John. Like I'm like, when I first met him, I was like, do I call you Toomer? He's like, well, the older we get, we try to avoid those kind of tumors, so just call me John.
That's him, man. That's him. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I got a funny story with Sonny Mayo too, man.
Man, tell it.
We're playing in Somerset, Wisconsin, and it was Tattoo the Earth. It was myself, Sonny, Clown from Slipknot, and a security guard riding on we'd always take a golf cart and just kind of ride around the fairgrounds or whatnot. And I guess the security at the festival didn't know that we're part of the production and the bands or whatnot. Next thing I know, man, they close hang Clown, who was driving the thing, flips the golf cart over. Can of mace comes out. They spray everybody involved. I'm sitting there with snot coming out of my nose. I can't see. I can't breathe. I'm screaming. Clown is complete. His face is swollen. It's like, what the hell, And believe it or not, he was able to manage to play the show, man. He refused to not play. The manager was like, we got to cancel the gig. And Clown's like, no way, man. Because he's about the fans, He's like,
yeah,
there's 25,000 people out here we got to perform for. I'm not going to do this, But that was one of the wildest experiences ever,
Yeah, that's what you need on camera, man. That's the behind the scenes, you
Fortunately,
know?
yeah, I didn't have that on camera, but that's when I brought out my video camera, was on that tour, the little handy cam that I got the Sevendust. I just brought it for memories,
Yeah.
and then I saw, oh, moving pictures. I can tell a story with this, and that's
When
what's.
did you when did you edit? I didn't mean to interrupt you. Were you editing at night? Like, when did you edit all this crap together when you're on the road with them? Or do you wait till you're done? Till the
No,
tour's done?
I was only a tour photographer at that time. I just
Yeah,
happened to
okay.
bring my camera with me, I
Oh,
didn't
I
have a
see, yeah.
computer even. And the camera, back then everybody wanted you to shoot on slides because it's much
Mm,
easier to print with. So I didn't even see the photos until the tour was done. Then I went and had everything processed, and I flew to Boston to meet with the tour owner to like hand over the stuff. And yeah, it was great, man. It was great.
okay. So I have did you work with, Skid Row?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
tell me about that. Like, what year was that?
It wasn't Sebastian Bach. It was Johnny's. God, what is his last name?
Yeah, I
He,
know what you're saying. Yeah,
he sadly passed away.
yeah.
I didn't meet them, but I toured with KISS for about a week or two on their farewell tour. And it was all fly.
Amazing.
I mean, as soon as KISS is done, man, they're in a van and we're off to the airport, onto the plane, 45-minute flight, land, hotel. Then we pack up the next day and go to the gig. So I didn't really get
Mm,
to see that much of Skid Row. But in Atlanta, we were going to film a live DVD at Earthlink Live. And the promoter just didn't do a
yeah.
great job, to sell a bunch of tickets. So we'd already got the crew, everything, sound guy, and the band are like, we can't show this. This place is half empty. Because
Mm,
it wasn't because of the band wasn't selling, wasn't good.
right, yeah, it's a promoter.
The promoter shit the bed and didn't really promote the show that well. And then wound up going to New York with them to shoot a music video or something, or some live stuff. And I did shoot a bunch of promo pictures, and I think one of them ended up on one of their albums.
Mm,
And then when Johnny quit or got fired, I had toured with a band called Dragon Force.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I
they're
remember
singing
them.
ZP. So ZP calls me immediately and he's like, dude, can you get me in touch with Skid Row? I'd love to fucking try out. I'm like, sure. So I hit up Rachel Bolan, who I'm the closest with, and he goes, okay, let's see what happens. Sure enough, man, he's in the band for what, 5 or 6 years. And
Yeah, that's because you introduced them. Wow, that's cool.
yeah. What's funny too, man, Three Doors Down, their original drummer was Daniel Adair, who's now
Yeah.
in Nickelback. And I met Daniel Adair the first time he ever met Three Doors Down. He had never met the band before he got even hired. He was an engineer in the studio in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Henderson is like a brother to me, who's the guitar player for Three Doors Down. Was like, this guy's a son of a bitch on the drums. We got to get him,
Yeah.
So we're in Pascagoula, Mississippi, shooting the video for When I'm Gone. And
Wow.
we're out in the woods, man, like huge, $600,000 music video, all on film and like set pieces. And the park rangers came to us because we had no cell service out there. And they're like, you guys have about 3 hours to tear down before you're hit by Hurricane Isabella. I'm like, what?
Jeez.
So we tore everything down and went away. But that's when Daniel got in the band. And then I did the Nickelback Three Doors Down tour, which was like the tour of the decade. Like, it was two of the biggest bands on earth touring together.
Yeah.
And Nickelback were watching Daniel every night. They're like, damn, he's great. He's Canadian. We're Canadian. Then Daniel calls me one night and he's like, and Three Doors Down were huge fans of Double Drive, right?
Oh, they were? Yeah.
Yeah, rightly so, man. Double Drive.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, I've done tons of work with those guys too. But Daniel calls me and goes, hey, man, do you have Mike Feroz's phone number? I'm like, yeah, why? He goes, don't tell anybody, but I just quit Three Doors Down. I'm like, what? For why? To join Nickelback. They're going to make me a permanent member. With Three Doors, I was just a hired gun,
Mm-hmm.
And I think he gave them the option, but, they didn't. They were like, we're not going to make you a full member. But I think Greg got the gig. I just saw it back. You know what? I actually invited John Humphreys. We went to go see Seether and not Seether. Creed and Three Doors Down a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago. Yeah, so we went to that show and saw Greg, who's now
What state were you in when you saw him? You
here in
said?
Oklahoma.
Oh, Oklahoma. Okay, got you.
It was the first night of the tour, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Sold to the rafters, 20 some odd thousand people. It was fantastic. You know, anybody's out, you go see Creed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their production's insane. And I think Three Doors Down has a new album coming out. And speaking of, Chris has a company, a tactical company where he builds weapons and has all kinds of merch. So I bought some stuff for Christmas, as you know, stocking stuffers or whatnot. And he sends me a text. He goes, "You collect knives at all?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" You know. So he's got these killer knives. He sent me one and posted on it on Instagram. But it has my name engraved in it, and I mean, it'll slice through, you know, whatever. It is super good quality.
Yeah, I gotta attach a link. That's cool. Like if he does custom, you know, that's really neat.
Yeah, he's awesome, man.
My son's big into airsoft. I don't know if your son back in the day played paintball or airsoft or any of that, but
no, I did, but he didn't.
You?
Yeah, my son was into video games, you know.
Oh yeah, mine too.
He's still into them. He's 34 years old now and still plays video games.
Does your son have a Oculus where they, you know, it's right in your face? It's like a big headset.
No.
My son does that.
I met the guy that created that. Like,
no way.
Yeah, I forget his name. He has a weird name, but Dragon Force did a commercial for that. It's out. You can find it on YouTube. I'll just type in Dragon Force Oculus. It's hysterical. And the guy that created it was there. Anyway, they played in Southern California. I went up going to the show, and the guy was on the bus with us. And I think he sold the company for $7 billion to Facebook and then bounced. I was like, what? The guy worth $7 billion? Yeah. No, it's fascinating. They are cool, though, man. I got to play some games on those before.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You're like this sounds cheesy, but you're like Forrest Gump of like music. I mean, you're everywhere, you know?
I've done some cool stuff, man. Like I said, I don't take it for granted. My son, like I said, could care less.
Yeah, mine too, right?
Yeah, like we did. I started to do a documentary on Shania Twain.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It went away after a year. You know, we spent a lot of time and money working on it, but I can't really talk about what happened. But biggest selling female country artist on the planet. And Zach moved from New York back to Los Angeles, where you got any work I can do? And he's a great assistant editor, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, you want to assist edit on the Shania Twain show? So we wound up going to her place in, where was she at the time? Las Vegas. She has a residency there. We were driving across country. She calls me. She's like, where are you guys at? I was like, I think we're near New Mexico now. She goes, why don't you guys stop by so I can meet Zach and we can talk a little bit about the show? I'm like, okay. So we did, and we left the next day. She let us stay the night. I was like, well, what'd you think of her? He goes, just a chick, you know. And she has a song that's called Don't Impress Me Much.
And that's that don't impress me much. Yeah.
Yeah, he goes, she doesn't impress me much. She just whatever. I'm like, okay. But yeah, we went to the Bahamas for a couple of weeks. Yeah, she has a place in the Bahamas, which is gorgeous. So we shot there for a couple of weeks, a lot of the interview stuff. And Zach,
how much is edited together? Do you have enough? Like, would you ever? You can't release any of this? Is this?
No.
Yeah.
God,
I want to see it.
Well, we edited together Act 1. Right. You know, and I had the best team ever assembled. Yeah, that I'm still working with today, by the way. I don't know if people watch true crime out, you know, in your world or not, but
oh yeah.
Yeah, these guys worked on like the Netflix show Night Stalker, the Richard Ramirez story.
Oh yeah, that's a great documentary.
Yeah, they did Waco.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they did all of it, man. Story producers to the editors.
So the crew I use do a lot of wrestling stuff. So like Jake the Snake documentary.
No way.
DDP. Yeah, those are my guys. Yeah.
Dude, I just posted a picture of Dale Torborg, who's the demon that KISS. I guess.
Oh yeah.
WWC or WWE.
Yeah.
But I wound up flying to New York to the Nassau Coliseum to shoot a WWE event, I think. But Chris Jericho was there. He looks like he's 12.
Oh
This
yeah.
had to be 98 or 99. Sting, the makeup.
Oh yeah,
Uh, God, man,
yeah.
bunch of other people. And then I got a call from Columbia, was it Capitol Records, when Goldberg did that movie, Universal Soldier with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I guess they had one of the WrestleManias or whatever, the Georgia Dome back then. And they were like, hey, we want to hire you to do a photo shoot with Megadeth and Goldberg. Are you available? Yes, I am. So I show up, we do the photo shoot, and Dave Mustaine pulled me to the side. Goldberg has no shirt on. His pants are pulled way down. He's wearing a pair of jeans that are too tight for him. Don't send those pictures. Let me look at him first, because I don't want people to think I'm weird because his pants are almost all the way off and he's got no shirt on. And I told him, I'm like, Dave, look, man, I was like, I'm not in charge of this. These are on slides, and I got to FedEx them first thing in the morning because they want to go to press with this stuff immediately, And he kind of didn't say anything. Then I was backstage at the Tabernacle when they were playing with Double Drive. It was Double Drive for Megadeth. And Mustaine pulls me to the dressing room and goes, come here, I got to talk to you. I'm like, what? He goes, I'm pissed. I'm like, why? I told you not to release those pictures. I was like, did you forget what I told you that night, that I have to ship them the next day and I have no control? He goes, well, next time you better listen to me or it's going to be blah, blah, blah.
Really? Oh, he didn't remember the whole conversation.
It's Dave Mustaine. What does he remember? Talented guitarist, but a bit of a weirdo.
All right, man. So look, I have a Christmas tree behind me. Did you celebrate Christmas as a kid? You obviously did. I mean, were you did your family have like the routine? Do you everybody celebrate Christmas at your house, or is that a big deal?
No, it was just me and my mom. And then when my son was born, of course, it was humongous. Then it was like balls of the walls. Yeah, it was a great matter of fact, I found a bunch of pictures of Zach when he was 2 or 3 years old opening gifts. Like, he was big into Jurassic Park, and back then they had the Jurassic Park toys, like the figurines.
Oh yes,
Tyrannosaurus Rex, the truck.
My kids too.
Yeah, and he was into Power Rangers. I'll never forget.
Yep.
He must have been 3, and I guess the green Power Ranger was the one that was the hard one to find. And we'd be at Walmart or Target or whatever, and he would just fall on the floor and just screaming bloody murder because he couldn't find the green Power Ranger guy. And I would just sit there and laugh, because to me that took balls. Like, no way I'm going to fall on the floor and scream so loud they can hear me in the next state. I was like, that's ridiculous.
Was your son Zach like he believed in Santa Claus and all that? I mean, did you have to like tell him like eventually there's no Santa, or did he figure it out?
I think he figured out his own, but he hated Santa Claus. Like, he would cry. Did he? Any of that stuff. Yeah. So it was like, no go. One Christmas thing that's really cool, through Slipknot's tour manager, Danny Nozell, calls me out of the blue one day. He goes, hey man, I am now Dolly Parton's worldwide manager, not tour manager, managing her whole career. I'm like, what? How did that happen? He goes, well, I started off as like head of security. Then she saw that I was capable of doing something like this, and she hired me. Crazy. He goes, we're looking to revamp her image a little bit. Would you be interested in doing a photo shoot with her? I'm like, absolutely. Yes. I was on tour with Stained at the time. We were in Arkansas. I was like, when? He goes, tomorrow. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. Can you be in Nashville tomorrow at 10 a.m.? I'm like, let me talk to the band, So I went up to Aaron Lewis and Mike Mushock. I'm like, I got this opportunity. Before I could even finish Parton, they're like, go,
Right.
Packed up, flew to Nashville, and I had my A-team crew drive up from Atlanta. And we literally pre-lit the whole set, before I even got there. They took a wig of hers, put her on a mannequin, and lit the whole thing up.
Wow.
Anyway, she did 23 wardrobe changes, and one of them she still uses today every year at Christmas is her in a Santa outfit. No beard, but the cap, the red suit with the white stuff on it. So
nice.
Every Christmas, that brings joy to me.
So she did all these costume changes because they're doing all in one day, right? So she wants to get as much photos as she can.
She does one photo shoot a year, and I was lucky enough to do 2 of those and 2 of her album covers, and then a live DVD in London.
Whoa.
Dude, that was incredible. You talk
What's she
about
like? What's she like in person, man? You got
just like I'm telling you, right? I spent 2.5, 3 weeks with her in Europe. She is Dolly Parton in person when you're around her 24 hours a day. Just kind, generous, very sweet, very patient. Um, I mean, I can't say anything. There's nothing negative I can say. I mean, she's just a
not
joy.
right on.
Yeah, she's incredible. And you know, that thing went platinum, the live concert DVD, and she was kind enough to send me a plaque that's in my office.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah. I only have 2 plaques, man. That one and one from Slipknot they gave me.
Which album was that? Slipknot.
Their debut album.
Oh, that's killer.
I was the very first person to get them into a publication ever. Like,
wow.
Yeah, it was a picture of Mick Thompson. I think that's why he clung on to me. We're really good friends because I got him a full page spread in there. And I actually did the interview with him as well. A lot of people went there. Metal Hammer did a US version, and they hired me as a photojournalist. So I'd go to shows, interview the bands. And one of the craziest shows I ever did was with Soulfly at the Tabernacle.
Oh, I love the Tabernacle. I was there. Yeah, I had
to
be there.
Okay, well, if you remember,
what year were you talking about? Because I used to see Soulfly at the Tabernacle.
99.
Okay, yeah, I've got to have been there. Yeah, that's cool.
So somebody tried to jump over the barricade, and the security guards roughed this kid up. Max Calavera goes up and kicks the security guard in the head, and they arrest him after the show. And I was supposed to interview him, and his wife Gloria called me. She goes, "Fran, Max is in jail."
Oh my gosh! In Atlanta?
Yeah, so I did a big feature on it. They did like a 2 or 3 page spread about it. So I interviewed him the day after he got out of jail, and that was a memory. Yeah, nothing to do with Christmas, but cool story.
Well, man, Fran, man, this has been cool hearing all these stories, and I think you should do your own podcast or something. You gotta like every episode you just do a different story about your experiences.
Yeah. Well, you know, I thought about it, but I don't know if I've got a voice or a face for what you're doing.
Oh man, whatever. You got a voice and a face.
Yeah, I don't know, but man, it's been a pleasure, man.
I want to do more episodes though, man. This is a good intro, but
yeah, whenever
I'd love to do like some co-hosting with you or something because you got a lot, and we know a lot of the same people too.
We sure do, man. All the Atlanta cats, dude. Like the Lowry brothers, Corey, Froge, I mean, those guys are like brothers to me, man. We still keep in contact constantly. You know, anytime I just saw Evanescence here at Rocklahoma, hung out with Troy for a bit, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Disturbed came through, you know, hung out with those guys. A lot of fun.
I'm trying to remember. Troy he's played with so many people.
Seether,
yeah.
Evanescence now. God, man.
I know, man. I feel like he's played with even Michael Sweet from Stripers. I'm thinking of so many people he's played with.
Probably so, man. He's another talented guy.
Yeah, we need a part 2 of this interview, man, because this is good. Yeah. And I need you to co-host with me if you want, man. That'll be fun.
Yeah, let's bring some new people in, man. I could probably get Chris from 3 Doors and Liberty, Phil Lax, any of these guys. Yeah,
dude, Liberty would be like phenomenal, man. That would be a dream come true.
I'll send him a text tomorrow, man.
Yeah, and if you could sit in too, man, that'd be fun.
If you want, take it away, man. He's got so many great stories, and he's just a sweetheart of a person, man. Full on Brooklyn, but you know, he's got a good soul.
That documentary, man, Hired Gun, that was so well done, and Jason, you know, Hook did such a great job with it as well.
Yeah,
and you, man, obviously.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. It was a lot of work. If people want to watch it, it is now streaming on Peacock. Just acquired it. It was on Netflix for a bunch of years, so it's on Peacock and Amazon. And then we didn't touch about the Ray Parker Jr. documentary.
Let's talk about that real fast. What's up with that?
So Ray Parker Jr., the Ghostbuster guy, was in Hired Gun for about 2 minutes. And I would bring him all over the world to these film festivals with me because he puts asses in seats, right? Because that's such a popular song. And we were on our way to Australia, 16-hour flight, sitting there together. And I was like, tell me more about your life, because only got a couple minutes. You know, I had 2 hours of interview him. He just got back from Japan, so he was so jet lagged that I was like, I better stop this now because he's not making sense. So he started at 13 years old in Motown. You know, he's from Detroit. And I was like, what was your first gig ever, man? He goes, well, I was 13 and Smokey Robinson walks into the studio, and that was my first gig. And then from there, I went on to play with Gladys Knight and the Pips, Marvin Gaye. I'm like, what? He goes, oh, yeah. And then when I was 17, Stevie Wonder called me out of the blue when I was at home. And I didn't believe it was him. I hung up on him. I'm like, what do you mean you hung up on me? He goes, yeah, is this Ray Parker Jr.? Yeah, this is Stevie Wonder. Click. And he calls him back 4 times, you know, and he goes, don't hang up. I want you to hear something. He starts playing the beginning of Superstition. He goes, oh my God, I've been hanging up on Stevie Wonder. You know, Stevie told me, I want you to play on my album, and then I want you to go on tour with me. This was in 71. I want you to tour with me with the Rolling Stones. We're doing a world tour with the Stones. You know, Ray was 17. He goes, okay. Next thing you know, man, everybody loves Bill Withers, Lovely Day.
Love Bill Withers, yeah.
That's Ray Parker Jr. on guitar.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, this guy's played on. That's why I made the movie, because nobody knows about his life story. It's incredible. Incredible.
And he lands this one huge song with Ghostbusters, right?
Dude, he was already retired. He had retired before doing Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And then he got the call to do that, and he had a second resurgence, you know.
Oh, but that's amazing.
Yeah, he's like your rich uncle. You know, he's just a cool dude. Just listen to these stories, and we're still super, super tight.
No way.
Oh, yeah. He was part of the Shania Twain documentary, too, as a producer on it.
Man, we've got to link up, man.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so cool.
If people want to watch that, it's on VOD. Sony Pictures acquired it. So you can watch it for $3.99. You know, they're not ready to give it up to a streamer yet. They want to make all their money. They can, but it's a great show. You're going to learn so much. You're going to hear I can't believe the amount of music we were able to license. So just full of great music and wonderful stories. And nobody's ever said a horrible thing about him, ever. He's just that cool of a dude. And if you interview him, I for sure can get you.
I would love that. That would be amazing.
Watch the movie first, because you'll be floored, man. Anyway,
how can people find you, man? What's the easiest way to find you?
Oh, Instagram, just Fran Strine. Same thing with Twitter and Facebook. I think it's all just Fran Strine.
That's good. What do you have next? What's coming up in the year? What's coming up in 2025?
I have a History of the Blues documentary that we just wrapped editing, so we're out shopping it now. It is through the lens of the harmonica. A lot of people don't know that the harmonica really created all music that we hear today. It's insane. So we're interviewing all the greats, all the great, you know, John Popper, to Lee Oscar from War, and just everybody in between. John Mayall, who sadly passed away. And then I'm sure a lot of people know the show Schitt's Creek. And the executive producer of that show hit me up, and it was a huge fan of Hired Gun. He's like, man, why don't you do a spinoff show, like a series? I'll develop it with you. I'm like, what? I was like, Ben Feigen, one of the creators of Schitt's Creek, wants to work with me. So we started that, and sadly, he passed away from pancreatic cancer 13 months later. He greenlit the show, you know, that was good to go shop on his deathbed in hospice. Like, it's tragic, man. It broke my heart, but we're shopping it. And then I kind of transit, because music licensing is so expensive. And I told you about the Night Stalker and Waco people. So I started developing some true crime stuff. And I've got one on the largest fake sports memorabilia ring in known history. This guy named Cliff Panizich, he can sign anybody's name flawlessly. Tom Brady, okay. Aaron Rodgers, Serena Williams, Mike Trout. The FBI could not differentiate his autograph with LeBron James. Like, he's that good. And it's just a catch me if you can type story. And then there's another true crime one about a cold case murder in Nashville that happened on Music Row. That's just fascinating. Yeah.
I love all these, man. By the way, I gotta like keep track, man. Like, the autograph thing is super cool. Like, I want to
Oh,
watch that.
dude. Yeah.
They're mine too. Catch Me If You Can. Like, yeah,
It really is, man. And then the last one is on a guy named Paul de Gelder. It's a human interest story. He's the host of Shark Week. If anybody watches Shark Week,
yeah.
the Australian guy with no arm or leg. And, yeah, he was attacked by 800-pound, like 13-foot bull shark, and overcame it. And it was just an incredible life story of his, man, where he went from drugs and alcohol to being homeless to joining the military, get eaten by a shark, and now he's the host of Shark Week and a shark conservationist of all things. Like, why would you want to? He goes, the shark's just doing sharky stuff, you know. He didn't know if I was food or not. So he took a bite out of me and spit me back out, you know. So
all right, man.
Yep.
Yeah. No, man. Fran, man, this has been really cool, man. And
thank you for having me on, man. This has been a
I'm
lot
glad we networked together. This is good, and I definitely want to keep in touch.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to be on anytime, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for being on Good Company, man. This is awesome.
Thank you, and have a Merry Christmas.
Oh, you too, brother.